Welcome to the road to 1 million US dollars. Let's get right into the Bitcoin chart for today. Because after we got this massive bump to the upside, Bitcoin has just been bleeding down over the last day or so. So what is going on here? Is this a warning signal? Should you be expecting Bitcoin to go to 58,000 US dollars tomorrow? Well, let me just start off by answering some of the most burning questions here. The reason that Bitcoin is just trading sideways is first of all because we are in a weekend right now, and typically on weekends you see lower volatility, so it is quite normal to see the Bitcoin price simply trading sideways during a weekend because there is lower volume in the market. And especially considering that we had this massive pump to the upside, it is not weird if Bitcoin simply needs to trade sideways a little bit. So now what are the key support and resistance levels that you should be paying attention to right now? Well, in the case that we break above this previous high at about 67.2K, then you should be looking higher. For example, up to this level right here, the 0.786, which is sitting at 68,000 US dollars. And in terms of Fibonacci support to the downside, we have this 0.618 Fibonacci level sitting at 64.8K. However, there's also the 0.65 level, which together make the Fibonacci golden pocket. So if we get a move down here, this is an area of interest that I'm paying attention to see if we are going to bounce out of here if we actually go that low. However, we should also be taking a look at the actual support and resistance levels in the chart here, because recently we broke above this level of resistance, which is sitting from 65,000 US dollars all the way up to 66,000 US dollars. And of course, right now we are still trading above it. So you might be wondering, why is this still marked as a level of resistance? And this is because as far as I am concerned, we have not retested this as a level of support. So if we actually get a move down here, potentially we can still just fall straight through this level. And I'm not saying that is likely to happen, but I first would really like to see a bounce out of here to actually confirm this as a level of support. And besides that, we also have this upward sloping line of support, which as of the time of recording is sitting at about 65,000 US dollars, that again we could see a bounce from. And I think in terms of the momentum especially, it is really important that we keep holding this as a level of support, because losing it as a level of support could indicate more bearish momentum coming after that. Now I know that in my chart I have this big level of resistance sitting here. However, before we would actually reach into that big level of resistance, we are going to reach the top of the descending channel with resistance sitting at about 68.2K. So if I fully zoom out here, you can see that this is likely going to be a level of resistance. And then above that, we actually have that level of resistance that I was talking about earlier. And besides that, if I take a look at the RSI momentum indicator on the 1 day time frame, everything is still good to go here, still breaking out, which is definitely looking like a bullish signal. Although one thing to keep in mind, and this may actually kind of ruin the party here, and that is because of the Mt. Gox distribution. Mt. Gox is like this old exchange that is going to refund a bunch of their users. And in total, they are going to distribute about $9 billion worth of Bitcoin. Now, I am not fully sure if they are actually releasing that $9 billion, but either way, if a bunch of people suddenly get a bunch of Bitcoin from 10 years ago, it would not be crazy to assume that some of those people are going to dump their Bitcoin on the market, and this could act as some selling pressure, potentially sending the price lower. But for me personally, it would also just be basically an assumption that these people are going to dump on the market. So therefore, I really prefer just sticking to the technical analysis and not really worrying about all this news and stuff like that. I would rather just see the actual price action in the charts. So for example, like breaking this trend line or something like that, that would actually be the thing that I would be trading on, and not just the assumption that these people are going to dump on the market. But I did think it was a good thing to actually share it with you guys so you can take it into consideration. Moving on to the Bitcoin liquidation heat map. First of all, in this 3-day time frame, recently we took out a bunch of liquidity to the upside. After that, we are now seeing a bit of a consolidation, with most of the liquidity actually being far to the downside at about 63,000 US dollars. And again, on the 1 week time frame, there is also a lot of liquidity to the downside, as low as about 62.2K. However, guys, I want to show you this 3-month time frame for the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, because as you can see right here, by far, most of the liquidity is to the upside, sitting at about 72.3K. And all that liquidity to the downside that I just mentioned is literally not even visible on this chart. It is like this barely visible pocket right here. So that is just something that I'm taking into consideration as well. Most of the liquidity on the higher time frame is actually to the upside, although because we pumped so hard, there will also be some liquidity to the downside on the lower time frames. So for me personally, I am not in any like long-term leverage trades right now. Of course, I am holding spot, but I'm not holding any long-term leverage trade. Instead, I am just taking short-term trades to actually short these moves to the downside and long these moves to the upside here on the lower time frames. This is simply the trading style that I prefer, but of course you can do whatever works best for you. This has been today's market update. Don't forget to join the Discord community with the first link in the description of the video you're watching right now, because very, very soon here, I'm going to launch a course about leverage trading, which will cost $0 to actually join and get access to all of the content. So if that is something that you're interested in, then make sure to join the Discord community, where I will be notifying you whenever I do launch it sometime soon. Either way, if you do end up joining or not, thank you for watching once again, and I will see you tomorrow in the next one.